Uzzah was killed for touching the Ark of the Covenant. Find out why on this episode of Ancient Egypt and the Bible. Today we are talking about one of the more interesting moments in the history of the Ark of the Covenant. If you like this channel and wish to support us, please hit that subscribe button, it really matters. And if you wish to support us financially, please consider becoming a Patreon member or purchasing my forthcoming book, which just so happens to be today's topic, the Ark of the Covenant. That book is scheduled to be released on December 1st and promises to be a lavish mix of breathtaking photography and cutting-edge scholarship. If you are at all interested in the Ark of the Covenant, this book is worth adding to your library, as nothing like it has ever been published on the subject. Please use the affiliate link below. Okay, let's talk about the Ark of the Covenant. The Ark was a reliquary, that is, a box used to carry or hold a relic or an artifact. In this case, the Ark held the 2 tablets of the law, or the 10 Commandments, and it was built at Mount Sinai. The Ark normally rested within a tent shrine called a tabernacle. After the Israelites conquered the Promised Land, the tabernacle moved from place to place and eventually came to rest at Shiloh. After Saul's war with the Philistines, the Ark was separated from the tabernacle and eventually was housed in the home of Obed-Edom. We should note that Obed-Edom was not an Israelite. He was a Gittite, which is a Philistine from the region of Gath. And yet, the Lord blessed Obed-Edom and his household for respectful storage of the Ark. 2 Samuel 6:11. Yet Uzzah, in 2 Samuel 6:7, was struck dead for irreverence, for seemingly preventing the Ark from being thrown by the oxen. Now, this incident has been misconstrued as that no one can touch the Ark without being killed. And this was even some of the inspiration for the Hollywood theology found in the movie Raiders of the Lost Ark. But that's not quite what's happening here. Now, there is no specific law prohibiting touching the Ark. However, we do find 2 violations of law in this passage. One very obvious: the Ark was placed on an ox cart, which was forbidden. The Ark was only supposed to be carried by its carrying poles according to Exodus 25:14-15. And then it was only supposed to be carried by Levites of the clan of Kohath. In fact, the Kohathites were able to handle the holy objects without penalty. Numbers 4:18-20, 10:21. One of the issues with placing the Ark on an ox cart was that the oxen might have been ritually tainted by their loads. For those who don't know, an ox is a form of cattle that have been trained to pull a load or cart. The issue with using oxen to pull the Ark has to do with ritual impurity or uncleanness. Now, ritual impurity was communicable. So, let's say I'm out and I touch a corpse. I touch a dead body. The dead body is unclean, now I'm unclean too. And then I go and touch you. Now you're unclean also. That uncleanness from the dead body has been communicated to me and now to you. If I touch a holy object, that doesn't apply. Holiness is not communicable. Uncleanness is. And sometimes oxen were used as a means to haul a dead body to a tomb, as a means to avoid direct contact between the dead body and the mourners. So what would happen is, in a case of a funeral, they would put the body on an ox cart. The ox cart's unclean, the oxen are unclean, the guys pulling the oxen are unclean, but none of the mourners are unclean. So it provided a separation between the dead body and the mourners. However, unless one knew for certain the life history of the ox, one could never guarantee that the ox was ritually clean. That's the problem. This became an issue in Numbers chapter 7, when 6 carts and 12 oxen were brought as offerings to the tabernacle. Okay, so now they've got these oxen, 12 oxen of uncertain life history. What do we do with these oxen? You can't use these oxen in burnt offerings. We can't be assured they're ritually clean. If they're not ritually clean, then if we use them for offerings, we could incur the wrath of God. Because God demands ritually clean sacrifices and offerings. So you can't use them on the burnt off altar. They're not acceptable for that. So what did Moses do in Numbers chapter 7? He asks God, and God says, take those oxen and those ox cart and give them to the Levites for their service. Don't use them in the tabernacle, but you can give them for the Levitical families as a reward for their service. So that's how they get around the problem in Numbers chapter 7. And even the Philistines seem to be aware of this problem, because when the Philistines capture the Ark of the Covenant and have to return it, what do? They stick it on a cart, but they don't use oxen. They use milk cows that have never pulled a load. Milk cows, ritually clean. Oxen, you don't know. So even the Philistines are, in 1 Samuel 6:7, are respectful of this distinction of clean and unclean when they return the ark. So that's an awareness that even, say, the Philistines knew about. So, getting back to the story of Uzzah. Uzzah and Ahio were sons of Abinadab, and they load the Ark of the Covenant on an ox cart. But that's not the only problem with what they've done. And we've already sort of alluded to this. 2 Samuel 6 gives us the genealogy of Uzzah. Whenever the Bible gives us a genealogy, it's giving us contextual information that the author expects us to already know. And the fact is, most Western readers don't know that information. It wasn't part of our, say, upbringing to really understand the backgrounds of all these people. We're not a biographical culture. Ancient Israelites were deeply biographical. They understood, in many respects, their posterity was the result of a trajectory. So they knew the history of these people. It's the stories they told. So that info is that Abinadab, father of Uzzah, was the son of Jesse. 1 Samuel 16:8. So Uzzah was King David's nephew. He was not a Levite, but a Judahite. He was of the tribe of Judah. He was not a Kohathite. He was not a Levite. He was a Judahite. And thus he was prohibited from handling the ark and holy things. So while the Lord overlooked one offense, 2 offenses invited summary judgment. The first offense, the ark was placed on an ox cart. The second offense, Uzzah was not of the clan of Kohath. He was not a descendant of Kohath. And this is actually not the first time summary judgment occurred after 2 offenses. Something similar occurred when the sons of Aaron were struck dead in Numbers 3 and 4. Again, 2 offenses there. Pulling the poles from the Ark of the Covenant, removing them from the Ark of the Covenant, and burning strange fire. 2 offenses for a summary judgment. Anyway, that is all for today. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching, and see you next time on Ancient Egypt and the Bible.